Shipping fast is great, but only if your changes actually work in production, right? That's where DORA's change failure rate metric comes in. Instead of counting every bug, this metric tracks how often a deploy actually causes a real problem. How often do you need to roll it back? So in this video, I'm going to cover 6 proven ways to drop your change failure rate straight from the practices of high-performing teams. Some are obvious, but I think I have a unique twist on them that you are going to want to hear. And together, they can make your code safer, they can make your team less stressed, they can make you move faster. Best teams keep their change failure rate under 15%. It's not about being perfect. Nobody's perfect. It's about making sure that speed is balanced with quality. All right, number 6 might be obvious to you. Static analysis, type safety. You don't want to wait for a bug to be caught by a test or to be caught in prod when you can use a type checker to catch it, right? Elite teams use static analysis. They use strongly typed languages. They use that on every commit, and they prevent things from getting through. Facebook uses static analysis to flag thousands of issues each year before the code gets to a build. Airbnb found that almost 40% of their historical production bugs would have been stopped just by having type checking in place. 40% is huge. Null pointer exceptions, sneaky security holes, typoed variables, they never get a chance if you're using a strongly typed language. They never leave your dev environment. The best teams treat static analysis and strong typing as something you just need to do, right? They cut out a huge chunk of failures before they even leave your machine. It's important if, somewhat obvious. All right, number 5, after type checking, the next thing is testing, right? You need automated quality gates. You don't want to just hope your code is safe. You want to put in place tests to catch things. But what type of tests and how do you do it without slowing things down? High-performing teams use contract tests on every pull request. If you own an API, if that API changes in a way that's going to break another service, that's hard to detect. But contract testing can catch that. Doing this, some teams have cut their integration failures in more than half. And this API testing does take time, but you can use test impact analysis to let you minimize the number of tests to run. You could limit API tests to just the API your code is most likely to have broken. That's what impact analysis does. Spotify did this and they slashed their CI times by almost 80% without letting more bugs through. I haven't had to do this, but once you start having a ton of API and contract tests to test, you might want to narrow the scope of what you're doing because you want a fast build. But yeah, number 5, test your code. With those automated gates in place, many issues will never make it into production. Number 4, progressive delivery. Don't risk everything at once. Roll out changes in small steps. Use feature flags, use canary deploys to send new code to just a percentage of users at first. Then you can watch your metrics. Is there slowdowns? Is there spikes and errors? Maybe we need to roll that back. Maybe you can fix a problem before most users even notice. Companies like Jackpocket saw 90% fewer incidents after adopting feature flags and canary releases. The safest releases are the ones that quietly prove themselves before many users have even seen the feature. So make gradual rollouts your default to improve your change failure rate. All right, number 3 is near and dear to my heart, infrastructure as code and immutable environments. I'm at Pulumi, that's why it's near and dear. But with infrastructure as code, every environment is built from a code blueprint, right? There's no hand edits, there's no click ops, there's no hidden config drift. Teams that adopt IAC, and hopefully most have by now, they cut out these type of problems, and infrastructure problems are hard to track down. Netways cut their change failure rate in half by moving all their Azure resources to IAC. At Pulumi, we track infrastructure change failure rate as a core metric because it matters, right? You want to have your infrastructure automated. You want to have it peer reviewed. And then immutable environments. You never want to have to make changes to your EC2 environment. You want to just replace one of them. It's immutable. You don't change it, you replace it. That way, you stop having weird drift, you stop having things sneaking through, your environments are consistent, your failure rate drops, and you don't have this, staging work different than prod. That'll be much less likely to happen. Technical debt cleanup. Teams with the highest change failure rates aren't necessarily the teams that are moving the fastest. Sometimes it's the teams that are moving the slowest because they're being slowed down by messy and hard to understand legacy code. So the best teams find ways to tackle the right technical debt directly. They start making technical debt visible. They tag when certain areas led to problems, led to rollbacks, and they focus on that. You probably have areas of code that you want to address because they're a mess, but sometimes time is limited. So you need to focus on the areas that cause production issues. Follow the 80-20 rule, right? Prioritize the 20% of technical debt that's causing 80% of your incidents. Schedule regular time to tackle those trouble spots. Spotify dedicates 25% of every single sprint, to cleaning up old code. Sometimes that's just deleting feature flags. Sometimes that's clearing out the cruft. But yeah, clean that stuff up. You don't need to have old feature flags everywhere. And if you do that, you'll have fewer surprises. You'll have smoother deploys, and your change failure rate will drop as your code base gets healthier. It can make a big difference. All right, you ready for number one? 1 second. Number one, postmortems, right? You've heard of this, blameless postmortems. Every failure is a chance to make the next deploy safer. When something goes wrong, you run a quick review, you focus on fixing the process and not on finding someone to blame. Okay, we've heard of that, but here's what's important. You need to actually address the items that come up. Too many times, people have postmortems, we come up with an action plan, we don't do any of those steps. So you need to have a postmortem, but then take steps. Pick an action item or two that could have prevented the problem and address it. Maybe it was a missing test. Maybe it's a clear checklist. Maybe we need another step in the deploy. Track those fixes and make sure they don't get lost in the shuffle, or you're not actually improving. Teams that make postmortems routine see their change failure rate drop quarter after quarter, but only if they're addressing things, if they're adding new guardrails, if they're adapting and learning. So yeah, lowering your change rate isn't about avoiding every mistake. That's the wrong way to approach it. It's actually about building a system that allows you to catch problems earlier, to recover faster, and to learn as you go. Let me know in the comments if you've had successes or challenges with any of these practices. I know some seem obvious, but they are important, and sometimes we miss the fundamentals. If you want more practical tips on shipping faster, check out the next video where I cover 5 more tips. And if this was helpful, yeah, check out Pulumi IAC, subscribe to the channel, and watch the rest of these videos. I think they're great.